Do it.
We're recording. Thanks, Rossi. Welcome to episode 8 of 120 Grit, TradeMutt's 120 Grit, a podcast for the working class. Today we've got a very, very special guest here. Actually a world record holder on the bike. A fella that we met through Skills Tech Queensland, Campling. Mate, welcome to the show.
Mate, pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Welcome, mate.
Do you ride over here?
No, mate, not today. I've been on the bike this morning.
That's disappointing. I was actually thinking that you would have hopped on the treadly and...
Kids on the shoulders.
Yeah.
Had a trundle.
Yeah. No, pass.
You are a world record holder, though.
I am.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. I was lucky enough to get that done in 2017 with a couple other Queensland riders.
So what's left then? You've peaked.
I have, mate. I've done a peak to retired.
Oh, God.
That's it. I'm out. I'm just a bloody, mammal now.
Oh, no.
It's a knockabout.
Just a knockabout, has been.
Yeah, right. So how long you been riding for?
Honestly, mate, since ever. Probably started racing BMX as a kid.
Jumping gutters. Western Sydney.
Yeah, Bass Hill, mate. I used to rain from.
Nice.
I'm
in a West
That was my
Sydney.
home track. Inner West.
Inner West.
Okay.
Burwood.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we used to venture out to Minto sometimes as well. It was a pretty wild track out there.
I didn't go out there. I would have got rolled if I went out that way.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, mate. When we were down there in 16 for nationals, I got back to the Bass Hill Mall, and it was unchanged from when I was there in '86.
Yeah, right.
Like the little, the little coin things you chuck in, and the coins do spin around.
It's one of those in the Mount Isa Airport, isn't it? No Roma.
We know those well.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
They're the best, mate.
I would have thought Bass Hill now would have been pretty cranking, pretty, upper class.
No, not at all. It's
With-
exactly the same as
With the way
when I
Sydney's
left.
sprawling out
Yeah.
to the west.
No, mate. I think it's exactly as it was. It just costs $1 million to live there now.
Bloody hell.
Lovely.
So, so you started to develop the cycling stuff later teens, is it? Or you had a break for
Yeah, I had a break, and I was riding the mountain bike for a while, and I met this girl along the way who ended up being my partner for like bloody 13 years now. 2 kids later, and we're still going. We're not married, but we're still going, loving life. But she actually used to be a cycle courier in London, right?
What's a cycle courier?
Oh, just like like a courier with a backpack, and they're taking letters and parcels to and from buildings everywhere. Yeah, just doing it on a bike.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
big in London. It's huge in the States and in the bigger cities.
Yeah.
Big in Sydney. Not so big in Brisbane because we just don't have the population to warrant it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so she was into that, and so I was coming around on my hardtail and my mountain bike, and she had this like what effectively was a track bike, and I wasn't familiar with them at the time. I was like, "What's with this bloody skinny tire bike you're riding?" And she sort of introduced me to this track bike scene, of which is a huge scene worldwide. And there's a massive underground scene for guys and girls racing track bikes with no brakes on the street, which is just bloody bonkers, mate. Like you're riding around with no brakes.
It's pretty
full
loose
gas on the road. It's
pretty loose, isn't it?
It's pretty loose, and man, it had a lot of appeal. Like I wanted to be a part of that.
The adrenaline.
Yeah.
The adrenaline, mate. Yeah, and just being the fastest.
Was that what it
thing.
was?
Yeah, it was just being able to just fucking beat people. They're your mates and all that, and it always ended at the pub without fail. So it was just a great time.
So this is like street racing.
Yeah, street racing. So like point
Pink
to point.
slips.
Well, yeah, like that. But like, pink slip, mate. Point to point racing. So yeah.
Yeah, love it. Love
Bikes
it.
have pink slips. What do bikes have?
Oh, I don't know, Derek.
I don't know.
Mate, I'll take your bike lock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So the appeal of the street racing sort of got you going into that side of things.
Absolutely.
There must have been some massive stacks.
Huge. Dudes are always getting hit by cars or bloody running into stuff.
You know
being
anyone
able
who
to pull up.
know anyone who died, got
Nah.
killed doing it?
No, not personally. Like I've ended up on the roof of a couple of cars. That happens.
Elaborate.
Oh, dude, I could tell you so many stories about crashing bikes. We'd be here all night. I had one. It was a good one just in West End. It was where were we? Not Cordelia Street. The one that goes the other way. It's like 4 lanes, and it's all one way. And I was in the right hand lane, just heading down because I was going to turn right onto Melbourne Street. And old mate's like 2 lanes over. To be fair, I was probably sitting back in his blind spot, so it's partly on me for not paying attention. But I was still on the right. And old mate decides he wants to be in that shed there, and he just chucked a swift right-hander right in front of me, and before I even knew it, I was in his door on the roof. That was it.
Just recently.
Nah, this is a while ago now.
yeah, right.
Yeah. This is a while ago.
I wouldn't think it's recent. Did you get pretty injured doing that?
Nah, I was knocked about a bit, but I didn't break any bones or anything in that one. That was fine.
Right.
But yeah.
So street racing in London. What took you to London?
No, that was what Rachel was doing.
Oh, she was in
London.
She was in London
doing
okay.
that. She was back in Brizzy.
Oh, so she came back to Brizzy, righto.
Yep. And so it just went from there, and then that crew that I met riding those bikes, they were into road bikes as well, like geared road bikes, and so you can do more on a geared road bike than you can on a track bike on the street. So I got into that and started, doing mountains and coming down Cootha and doing Nebo and doing Glorious and all these things, and just got strong, over time. And then the missus kind of hit me. She's like, you got a big bum, Cam. You could probably give track racing a crack. I reckon you'd be pretty good. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And a few other mates said, yeah, give it a shot. So I joined a club and ended up out at Chandler Velodrome, which they built for the 82 Com Games. They built that for, and just started training out there for a few years. And before I knew it, 3 or 4 years had passed. New velodrome had been built, and I got big and strong. And I went and took on states. I did states in Brizzy 2017. Won the Kieran. Was pretty happy with that. The guy that was coaching me at the time was just like, don't even worry about that. It's just a state meet. Doesn't mean shit. We got to go to Sydney. Went to Sydney. Won that. Turns out the velodrome's across the road from the old Basil.
Yeah, I was going to
BMX
say, I
track.
thought the velodrome was out there.
It's right there, mate. Yeah, it's right across the road. So
Always end up, where your roots are.
man, it was a really funny time. Hey, just sitting there, and we'd got the win for nationals, which is really hard. It was a really hard meet for me. And just come out the front and was just hanging out after the whole thing, just looking across the road to the VMX track, and it was a bit of a moment, I've come so far. But
Full circle.
gone nowhere, come so far. Yeah.
How often are you cycling, even now?
Oh, so now I'm like we've spoke earlier. I'm on a big break. I just got a bit tired of the hard training all the time. So if we were in say 2017, 2018, when I had those 2 really good years, I'd be doing a recovery ride on a Monday morning, track session Tuesday night, so a really heavy track session of a Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, just get on the rollers and just turn the legs over. Gym Wednesday night, rollers Thursday morning, gym Thursday night, really fast road ride Friday morning, Saturday's rest day, and then a big track session on the Sunday.
Wow.
So it's a lot, but you don't need to do that, just to burn the demons.
Yeah.
You need to do that if you want to go and win world titles and win national titles and whatnot. But as of now, so I rode this morning, coffee ride, with a couple of blokes, 30K.
There's a bit of that around Brisbane, the old coffee ride, isn't
there? But man, it's the perfect thing. That's what I mean. It's just as good as going out and trying to go win medals. You don't have to do that. Just getting out early, see the sunrise, you know what I mean? You're with a couple of good people. How's your weekend? What's going on? You'd be surprised what people will tell you on the bike when you're rolling, And then you get to the coffee and it's all cash. You're ready for your week, and you might do, an afternoon ride or a Friday, or on the weekend. Like yesterday, I was out, did a lot of dirt riding up over Nebo in preparation for a trip I got coming up, and it was just there was 6 of us on the ride. I only knew one other guy, but by the end of it, I was, I could turn up to any of these guys' houses, because we'd shared this experience, and we'd shared a struggle together, getting up through those mountains and getting up those big hills. And one of the dudes had a stack, and one of the dudes got a flat, and just, going through that process with people is just bloody therapeutic. It's really good.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So you're a pretty big routine type operator. Are you a routine man?
Yeah, I definitely get into routines. I kind of do it like I do my lunch. I kind of get stuck in a really solid routine for say 6 months, and then I'm done with that, and I need something else. No more peanut butter. We're on to Vegemite,
Yep.
And then I'll run it like that, and then I'll run it, yeah. So yeah, I do. But
routines, but variety.
Variety, yeah. Routines for a period of time, and then I got to cut it.
Change it over again.
Yeah, change it right up.
Yep. Nice.
So you touched on 2017, 2018 being a couple of really big years for you, and we mentioned before how you got to a point, after we'd identified that you had a fat ass,
Yep.
that you started to take the training a bit more seriously and actually started to really get a bit of a hunger for some success with the cycling.
Yep.
So talk us through that, how that developed, and in the lead up to 2017 and 2018, and then leading into some pretty cool world titles.
Yeah. So leading up to 17s where we did I won my first state titles and national titles. Prior to that, just training outside, there was this old guy, Jerry O'Connell, and anyone who's been around a bike track in Queensland will know Jerry O'Connell was just this old hitter, legend of a dude. Bloody strong old guy. Like, there's not many, like, he'd thump almost anyone who turns up on the track on a pushy. Like,
how old are we talking?
Oh, like 60?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Still get the bike up to 65k an hour. Like,
wow.
Yeah, he's a hitter. Yeah. So he took me on and coached me, which was just the best thing that ever happened to me on the track, because he was old school and just the way he did things really resonated with me. We just really clicked as a a protege and master kind of.
So this is a bit of a role model.
Absolutely, yeah.
Someone to look up to, I suppose.
Absolutely, and he was faster than me, man. This dude used to kick my ass when I was new at the track. He was the fastest guy on a bike that I knew, and he was old. He's not bloody old, but you know what I mean.
Older.
He's older. He's no spring chicken, mate. So he took me on. We did that, and then after we won stuff at 2017, he's like, mate, you gotta. If you can, you got to keep going with this. You got to get into the gym more. You got to, and do all facets of it. Because I'm not a gym person. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't like the gym. It's not my scene. But he kind of showed me that if I went to the gym to do this purely for the purpose of putting that power on the bike,
as an objective,
we're going to do this so you can go faster here. We're going to do this so you can push a bigger gear. Push a bigger gear, you can go around faster, and if you go around faster, you can beat that cat. Yeah, so it's like, okay, cool, I can take this on. And so he made these great programs for me, and just like a training program that I'd never seen before, where we would target, we would do 3-month blocks of power and then 3-month blocks of strength, and then work on leg speed, and he had this like this sawtooth kind of strategy where we would build a certain aspect and then move on to another aspect, and then by the time we'd gone through the 3 phases and started again, we were pegs higher than when we started, 6 months ago or 9 months ago. And so after doing that for a few years, he made me into someone that could compete on a world level. So 17, Queensland and nationals, and then 18, we just worked our asses off. Right, and there was a couple other guys. There was like the Queensland elite crew that were younger guys, but we were just as fast as them, and we're a lot older. So that was it was always a really good little competitive scene to have us masters guys trying to be as fast as our elite sprint crew as well. So there was no bad blood between us, but it was really good. It was like the state school versus the private school guys. Yeah, it was just these two sides of the fence going at it, and that was brilliant. So I ended up training with a guy named Paddy Winerow. You guys should get Paddy Winerow on here, actually. He's got an amazing story. Many amazing stories.
Yeah,
anyway.
wow.
So Paddy, and then this another guy, Nathan Graves, who was on the elite team, but he's my age, right? And he's from an amazing cycling background, high pedigree cycling family. Brother's a world champion mountain bike racer, just all around hitters on the bicycle. So I was training for, not necessarily training for worlds, but just training to, go another national title and do whatever I could do to, beat whoever was going to turn up on the day. So my strength, I've got they talk about Cam's got a good 500 metres. You know what I mean? There's guys who are starters and there's guys who are like kilo riders. They do a kilometre really, really well, and that's a really high event in the sprinting world as far as bikes go, the 4-lap kilo, which is a horrible thing to do to yourself. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah,
it's about the worst thing you can do to yourself on a bicycle, in my opinion. But the Paddy Winerow was an amazing starter. Nathan Graves, amazing kilo rider, and they're like, Cam, you got a great 500. You're that mid range, big power. You don't get off the mark quick. You don't do it for 4 laps, but if there's 2 laps to go, 9 times out of 10 you're going to pump whoever you race.
So it's 500 2 laps, is it?
500's 2 laps,
Oh.
yeah, 250 metre track. Yeah, sorry, I should have said that. But,
We're feeling our way through it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out. So, yeah, before I leave the details out, there's this event called the Team Sprint, right? You get 3 big buffy sprinters. Cool. You line them up side by side on the track, and you can get another team, and they start on the halfway line on the other side of the track. Whistle goes. Off you go. You fall in. So the first rider goes. Cam's second. He falls in. Nate's third. He falls in behind. We do 1 lap, and then the rider 1 pulls up. That's his job done. Thanks for coming. All right. Then I got to ride that second lap, and then I pull up, and then Nathy comes through behind me, and he does the 3rd lap, and that's the team sprint. They do it for women as well, but they only do it with 2 riders instead of 3. Yeah. So they said, hey, we've done the math because they're math kind of guys, and they said, with our 3 strengths, I reckon we can go to LA, and I reckon we can win world title for the team sprint, Masters 35, 45. I'm like, yeah, right. Maybe we could have a go at this. And so that was maybe 4 months out from the event. Like, we were all in full swing of training anyway, so we kind of...
That's lucky.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, lucky in that respect. What wasn't lucky was the bloody the cost of what it was going to, financially to get us over there and to take this thing on. So Paddy's he's a hip surgeon, renowned hip surgeon up here. So he hucked in a heap of cash to cover the accommodation for us. And my cycling club, Brisbane Cycling Club, are just an extended family really, and they put on a keg one night and did all this fundraising for us and got a heap of money together, and we got the cash, we bought the
scraped it
tickets,
together.
We scraped it together,
Nice.
and we went over there and bloody flogged them.
So that's awesome. That's a brilliant. So the 3 you race as a team. So that event that you guys won there, was that the world record title?
Yeah,
or was
yeah.
that, so that was, and you're still the current world record holders for the Masters event in the team sprint.
Correct.
How long did that record stand for that you smashed?
Before,
Yeah.
I was like 15 years or something.
Wow.
It stood.
Yeah, cool.
It was a long-standing record, and we took it off a couple of other Aussies who still race, and they were. I think they were pretty happy for us. They were the first ones to come around and congratulate us.
If your world record's going to be broken, at least it's by your own countrymen.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you went over to LA, you only went for the one event, right?
No, so that's what I was getting at. I went for the team sprint. That was my job, right? Man 2 team sprint. But they had the individual sprint as well, so I entered that, and I had to race against Nath, who was in the same bracket as me, and we ended up in the final against each other.
True.
Yeah, for the
Nath
title.
off your team.
Yeah, man 3, Nathy Grave. So the day before that, or 2 days before that, sorry, Nath is a kilo rider. He can ride 4 laps, full gas, because he's an animal. He won that, right? And then we had the sprint 2 days later, which went for 2 days. I ended up against Nath in the final. He pumped me 2-0 because Nath is just stronger than me, right? But that was gravy for me because I'd come in and walked away with a silver medal. Had no expectations, you know what I mean? I was just there for the team sprint. And then the next day we had the teamie, and we won that as well. So Nath went away with 3 rainbow jerseys. I come away with a medal and a jersey and a record, and Paddy come away with his jersey and a record as well.
So you guys killed it.
We smoked it. It was great. And funnily enough, like we finished that, and Nath pointed out, like, none of us had any desire to go back. We were just
You're done.
totally satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So that's interesting. So once you've gone through it, so did you plan on going in those individual events when you went over?
Yeah, I was always going to go.
You're always going to go in them. So once you've been in it, you've done it, you've exceeded your goals. What's that feeling like? So you obviously felt accomplished. You didn't feel like there was anything else to do.
No, it was mission accomplished. We'd done it. We'd been working together, for something for a fair whack of time. Like we said, put ourselves in the bin a lot. When you do these kind of efforts, it's not uncommon to be down on the track having a spew and then have a 20-minute sit and get up and do it again, then get up and do it again. And it's just the only way to do it. That's how it works.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So and the other boys the same. They felt accomplished, feel like they've ticked their box, and
Mate, Paddy never took his bike out the box when we got back. He just left it in the box.
that it
It was done.
hasn't been on it again, or what?
No. Just that'll do. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Nice. So let's talk about how this has sort of helped you out with your mental health.
Sure.
So how has cycling enhanced or helped with looking after your own health?
Mate, endlessly, to be honest. The term I use all the time is I use riding the bike to burn the demons. You know, it's free. You can go out there and you can completely, you know, bin yourself, or you can go out there and completely relax and just go for a ride and just be alone with your thoughts and, you know, just process things, you know. So in terms of how's it been for my mental health, it's been invaluable. We had a chat the other day, Dan, about, like, I remember specifically as, you know, as a younger kid, there'd be a lot of fighting at home, and I'd just go and I'd grab the skatey or I'd grab my pushy, and it wasn't about going to the skate park and trying to, you know, do tricks or do jumps or anything. I'd just sort of take it down to the bike path and just flog it as hard as I could go for as far as I could go until I was completely exhausted, and it just made me feel better. You know, I didn't know that I was doing it for, you know, my mental health. I just knew that made me feel better, mate. Yeah, it was just an outlet, you know, and so I would do that, and then my mum sort of kind of she caught on, and you could ask her, why is he good at bikes, and she'll say because he used to go and flog himself up and down the bloody bike path every afternoon for 2 or 3 hours because it just made him feel better, you know. He was either grumpy or he was a hothead or we were fighting or whatever. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's just her observation that that's what worked. So there was never any problem if I wanted to go and disappear on the bike or the skatey for as long as it took. I just would go do it.
Funny now as well, like kids go through all sorts of stuff at home, similar sorts of stuff, but they're, for the most part, their outlet is video games or
Totally.
like maybe not such, you know, physically healthy
Yeah.
outlets like that.
Yep.
And it's almost a different generation. It's a completely different approach to being able to handle the shit, basically, when you get dealt it.
100%. 100%.
So I like that in terms of, you know, an outlet. Everyone needs an outlet, right?
Man, you have to have it. And I feel really lucky, and Brody and I have spoken about this, that I feel really lucky that I've been able to find something that I know works for me, and it also happens to be something that it turns out I'm pretty good at, you know. So,
And you enjoy.
and I enjoy. So I feel lucky in a way that I found that, you know what I mean. And a lot of people probably will never find it, you know what I mean. But I think it's just a matter of going out there and having a crack at these things and seeing what does it for you. And once you find something, just stick with it.
Yeah.
Have a crack.
So, Quadsy, you're got the missus, got a couple of kids. How many kids you got?
I got 3 kids.
3 kids. Yeah. And what are their names again?
Aubrey, Finn, India.
Right. And is Finn the one that was crook?
Finn is the one that was crook, yeah.
So run us through that.
All right, so Finn's the middle one. He's 10 years old now. He was diagnosed with cancer at 18 months of age.
Tell us about the day that you found that out. Like what?
Oh man, yeah, I can picture it perfect, same as you'd expect. I think what was funny, not funny at all actually, but the way
I know what you mean.
The way it came about, the way it came about, he had he just seemed to have a lot of issues for a long time. He had like this little, like a bloated belly, like a real podge for for ages, mate, you know, and
that milk gut.
Yeah, that milk gut, and he just didn't need it. He should have grown out of it by now, you know. And the missus was just constantly onto it, like, this is not right. We've got to go to a doc, and we go to the doc, and they're like, oh, it's constipation. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And I don't know how long we spent. Like, I don't know how many people we saw, right, that told us, no, it's nothing. No, it's this. It's fine. Just keep on trucking on. And she just persisted, you know. She just knew. There's something wrong. Something's not right. This shouldn't be doing this. So we were down in Newcastle at my dad's place for Christmas, and same deal. He was super uncomfortable. You could never get the kid in the car seat. You know what I mean? He was always super uncomfortable and wriggling around, and that's like the go-to if you're a parent and you got a screaming little kid. You chuck him in the car, do a lap, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. You know, he hated being in the car. He'd scream the whole way home from the coast. You know, it was just the worst. Anyway, so we took him to the doctors in Newcastle. Same old deal. Give him some laxatives or whatever. I'm like, this is not the go. Like, this kid's empty and his belly's sticking out. Something's wrong, you know. So anyway, we came home, straight to the hospital from the airport. Sat in there, and Rachel basically said, we're not leaving until you guys stick whatever you got to put in him. Put him under a bloody CAT scan. Whatever you got to do. until you find out what's going on, because something's wrong, and we're not leaving until you do it, you know. So anyway, we're there all night, and then I remember specifically they're like, okay, we got to go and we'll do a little ultrasound, right? And there was there were two younger doctors, whether they were fully qualified doctors or what, I don't know. But I remember, man, they were doing the, you know, like we've all seen an ultrasound, you know how they do it. They were doing that, and it's all dark, you know, what they're doing, and there was this like, you know, just like a white kind of sprawly bit, and they stopped on that and went back to it, and I just remember, man, they both just chin up and just looked at each other, like they totally just saw something.
And holy shit.
Yeah, and just went, oi, go get whoever you got to get. Anyway, this doctor came back, and then he saw it, and within 2 seconds, he was like, right, no problems. Come this way, Dad. Took me for a sit, and like, oh, we got to go check him in for an MRI. Okay, cool. So they went and chucked him in the MRI, put him under the general, did the whole bit, come out, and by now it's like whatever hour it is in the morning. They're like, we hate to tell you this, but your boy's got cancer. And yeah, that was
fucking hell.
World changed, mate.
Just
then.
What was that feeling? What was that? What?
Oh, it's rank. I'm getting the shivers now. It's just fucking horrible, mate. It's the worst thing
Just
ever. Hollow, mate. Missus just collapsed on the floor, you know.
thinking the worst.
Oh yeah, what do you think, you know? And it just went from there. I remember we left this was at where were we? We would have been at the Marta Children's before they did a lot of the renos, and before it was the Lady Soleno, Marta Children's. Yeah. And I remember we're going to admit you tonight, so they sent us over to the children's hospital over near the Eka, right?
Yeah.
And you know, in the ambo, middle of the night, called, you know, had to call Mum, had to call Dad, and you know, it's fucking the world's falling apart, you know. And yeah, man, I remember we got to this, they just put us in this hospital room, and I was on like one of those weird chairs, and I remember like sun coming blaring in the morning, right? And there was someone else in the room with us, and I didn't realise, and they had some like Christian radio, just prayer channel on the radio, and I'm not, you know, a religious person at all, but it just fucking hit me like, fuck, here we are, you know, in the bad ward of the kids' hospital, and people are waking up listening to bloody
praying.
From dusk till dawn.
That's
praying.
hectic.
That's what's going on now. This is your life. And so, yeah, we pretty much lived in that hospital for 3 months. We lived there, didn't move, stayed there constantly. They wouldn't let us sleep in there. Like, Mum was allowed to stay, but you couldn't have 2 people in the room. But the nurses are real nice, so I had a bit of a camp mat. I just used to chuck the camp mat in the toilet and just sleep in the toilet next door, and they were pretty cool with that, and that was all right. So we did that, but yeah, so they did more scans, and they just he had they call it a sacrococcygeal teratoma.
Holy hell, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
You've got that pretty well down pat though, don't you?
Bundle that up.
Fucking, I got to tell them that every time I go to the hospital, but and I'm like, why do you make me say this? You got it written there, mate. Like, just why?
This is his birth date. This is his middle name. I don't need to put that last bit in there.
Totally. What's he allergic to? Fucking platelets. Yeah. So and anyway, so they did the scan. And they're like, they said this is bad, mate. He's riddled. So the sacrococcygeal teratoma. It's like they call it a yolk sac tumor. It's basically a big ball of fucking badness. All right. And that was on the inside of his pelvis. Right. So they talk about that as a type 3 or a stage 3. I don't want to use the word stage. I think it's a type 3. Mm-hmm. So you got like skin cancers are a type 1 because you can see them, right? And so a breast cancer would be a type 2 because you can't see it, but you can feel it. Yeah. And then you got a type 3, which is where you can't see it and you can't feel it. So it's really hard to diagnose. Yeah. Which is why we went through all that crap for so long, right? And because it had gone for so long, the thing, you know, they said the thing was bigger than a tennis ball, and it had already spread, and he had, you know, spotting, like, you know, cancer spotting, and it was all up in his lungs, and it was fucking all through him. And they're like, mate, he's not gonna make it, you know.
Is that what they told you?
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Nah, I'm not kidding you. Yeah, he did, but.
So yeah, like so the story turns out pretty well, but you don't know that at the time.
You don't
obviously
know that at the time. No.
And he's the middle, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got an older.
Yep.
So was it older boy?
Older girl,
older girl,
younger boy.
younger boy.
Yeah.
So was they both? The younger boy wasn't born yet, right?
No.
So
He
how's
wasn't
how's
around.
big sis going?
Big sis is good, mate. Big sis is
How was big sis going at that
then-
time?
Oh yeah. Oh well, it was funny. So India is from a previous relationship. She's much older. Indy's finishing school. This is a spin out. You ready for this? So I got one
Yeah,
boy
yeah.
in prep and my daughter's in grade 12. So one's leaving school
One
and
starting.
one's coming into
Okay,
school.
righto.
Yeah. So Indy's always lived away with her mum. That's always been a pretty good situation.
Righto.
She comes and goes, same as, everyone else comes and goes. Right?
Mm.
It's all pretty under control. Aubrey's obviously not around yet. And we're living the hospital life.
So what's the next steps after that? After that diagnosis, you've been told it's not looking good, terminal,
Yep.
potentially terminal.
Yeah, that's what they tell you.
So where do you start preparing for that to be the case? What was their timeline looking like at that stage?
Oh, we didn't really. I don't know that we got a timeline. We might have, and I'm the first one to admit, and I really notice it when we go through the stories, like when Rachel's present and we talk about stuff, and like I might relay something, and she'll be like, "No, that's not what happened at all," and vice versa. I think we both really just
High stress situation.
just blanket
Yeah.
blocked things from the memory,
Yeah.
whether it's intentional or not. There's just things
Or if
that
your
you
own
don't
sanity.
remember. Yeah, totally. Like, how are you going to deal? You know.
Mm.
So I don't recall them giving us a timeline, but I remember saying
Didn't really matter.
didn't matter, mate. No. It was just like, so what do we? I just remember going, so what do we do? What's next?
That's the male
Yeah,
objective.
Yeah, totally. What do we do? It's like, oh, we've got to get you over to this hospital. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's you guys. Like,
Yeah.
what do we do?
Yeah.
Do we have surgery? Do we do the radiation? Like, I'm not a doctor. I don't know how cancer works. I haven't had to deal with this before.
Mm.
What's the go?
Mm.
And they're like, well, first of all, we got to give you a whole bunch of chemo and try and shrink it down. All right? They do that successfully. They shrink it down to get it to an operable size is the idea. We've got the most amazing surgeon in Craig Bride, who's just been with us like to this day. We still see him when we've got to go for our appointments. We see Craig, and Craig's a real advocate as well. If he's ever got a young doctor in there, and I give him massive props for this, he's like, there's two things you got to know. One, look at these guys. They're bearded, tattooed. Well, my missus doesn't have a beard, but, bearded, tattooed, regular Joe people, right? But she knew that something was wrong.
Mm.
Mum knew.
Mm.
So next time some mum's in here and she's a first-time mum doing first-time mum things, maybe
She's fretting.
just neck up
Yep.
and listen to her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mother's intuition.
Mother's intuition, man. And he doesn't have to do that. He's some big shot surgeon, but he always takes the time to point that out, and he always takes the time to make sure he sees us. He doesn't get us an intern to see us because it's that 12-monthly visit or whatever. Craig's there,
I guess that's an interesting point because this is probably another topic, but the healthcare system is so overrun, right?
Oh, yeah.
And people coming in and out of emergency all the time with different sorts of complaints and this, that, and the other. I would imagine that young doctors are seeing shit all the time, and they're like, "Oh, here we go again. Like this is
Totally.
another time waster. We've got these people over here bleeding out, or this person coming in an ambulance. Then we've got
Yeah.
old, whatever, a family coming in with a kid with, constipation, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, I'd imagine that would be happening all the time.
Totally. It's got to be really a tough gig. I don't envy it. I'm not. That's why I don't do it, mate.
Yeah.
I'll stick with the colours and shapes.
Yeah.
You guys can deal with that.
So how did you manage? How did you and your missus manage it? Your own sanity. How did you work through it? Were you openly talking to each other about how you were feeling? Were you, how did you cope through that period?
Oh, I think a lot of it is just it's like you said, there was like a new routine, and we just lived by that hospital routine, and that kind of got us by. It was just the next. We got to get to surgery. We got to surgery. We got to get to this, treatment.
Whatever the next thing is in front
Whatever
of
the
you,
next thing, we just got to get to that. We just got to get to that, and they're like, right. So now we're going to do 6 months of treatment, and you're going to be in and out. And so we just dealt with that. In terms of dealing with it together, it was fucking hard. It was a massive struggle. It's a lot of you can't deal. Number one, it's kind of human nature that people wanna not blame is a bad word. It's not what I'm trying to get at, but people want to go. It's because of that. It's that's fault, and you want to be able to pass it off on that. You know what I mean? And when there's no fault, if it's just
well, you're trying to figure out why.
Why, mate? And that's just the hand you were dealt, but that doesn't help you. That doesn't help you process anything when it's just the hand you were dealt. So inevitably, you're gonna fight with your partner, yeah. And that happened. It happened a lot. You know what I mean? And it was fucking completely irrational, you know. But the whole situation was irrational. I remember at one time we'd been at each other for whatever it was. It was clearly nothing important. It was just it was just a bad day, you know, and we were just having a tough time, you know. And there was a parents' lounge like down the other end of the hall, and they had a heap of fold-out beds out there, and it was pretty cool. Like when eventually I got kicked out from sleeping in the toilet, I would go and sleep out in this parents' lounge, and there'd be all these other dads just sleeping out in the parents' lounge, just hanging out. And I was there one day, and the nurse was just coming past, who we were chummy with. The nursing staff there were just incredible. They were so lovely. But one of the chicks grabbed me one day, and she goes, "Just don't worry about the bingling." She goes, "Just one thing." She goes, "At some point or another, the wives always blame the husband for the kid having cancer." She goes, "It's not you. You didn't fucking do it, clearly." She goes, "But it just happens. It happens to every single person that comes through these doors. It's just a coping mechanism. So don't take it personal. Yeah, she's struggling, you're struggling. Just
well, I guess
forward,
not only is it a high stress situation, but I would imagine that the overwhelming emotion would be fear.
Yeah.
Oh, and
obviously
not having a fucking clue what's going on.
Not having a clue, and like people act irrationally when they're scared, right? It's perfectly normal.
Yeah,
I guess reaction.
Yeah, totally.
So it was good you had the other dads there. I like to, that's probably like a bit of support when you end up in a room like that.
Yeah, it was, and we had chickens at home, so I had the access to the good eggs and the good food. Excuse me. So I remember cracking a couple of eggs, making eggs on toast for a bunch of people out the back, but they were bright yellow, and there was this one dad who's like, "Jesus Christ, where do you get these eggs from, mate?" I was like, "They're my eggs, And then we made friends, that just because stuff like that.
Well, that would have been a huge support in itself.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Just hanging in the kitchen, just being somewhere else other than in your room. You know what I mean? Just being somewhere else and just having just to talk about someone about something other than bloody cancer.
Was there support networks there for parents going through that stuff? Because like I've never been involved in anything like that. Like, what is there?
Not that I recall.
Well, there's I suppose now, but there wouldn't have been Ronald McDonald House back then, or was there?
Oh, sorry, I lied. The one place we did get support from was from it was called Red Kite.
Oh yeah.
You heard of
Yeah,
those?
I've heard of Red Kite.
Yeah, Red Kite. They gave us like a really big, like a hamper and a bag and a bunch of like super useful stuff. They totally helped. They helped actually they helped financially because we were in there for so long, and just things like bills would come, and they were more than happy to cover bills. You just send them the bill and they just pay it. Stuff like that. So that happened and that helped. Obviously, we got a lot of support. Like my dad came up, and Rachel's mum lives in New Zealand, so she was over from New Zealand, and so everyone was up and around us and helping.
There was
us
a support network.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the family was a huge support. Like you couldn't do it without them.
No, I'm just interested, as in like people talk, like mates that have had kids and stuff. They're just like, oh well, you're just giving the kid, and then they're like, well, there's the door, and you're just like. You're just at home and now you've got a kid.
No instruction manual.
Yeah, it's like there's no A to Z on how to keep this kid going, So I was just wondering if there was something, you found out your kid's got terminal cancer. There's not some sort of sit down, run through, this is what the deal is. It's sort of just like, we've got to get him to surgery, or we've got to radiation, or,
Yeah. Look, so, basically, look, like there was no, first-time mothers course for first-time cancer sufferers or anything like that. There were certain things that they were super clear about that you had to know, like if you just had a chemo treatment, and so chemo talks about a range of drugs that they will give you in liquid form. Once you've had them, depending on what you had, you are what they call cytotoxic, which means that everything comes out of you is toxic. Right.
Radio.
Well, I don't. No, I'm not going to be able to explain this right, but it's bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
So the vomit's bad, the poo's bad, the wee's bad. So they're very clear about that, and kids, anyone I imagine, can get very sick and vomitous after having chemotherapy, right? So if they start to vomit, they're like, you can't get this on you, or you're going to end up crook as well, and don't let anyone else get it on you.
Right.
So stuff like that, or you would be immune suppressed. So the chemo kills everything, including all the good stuff in you as well, right? So that makes you immune suppressed. So for X amount of time after treatment, there was no going down the shops with the little guy. You can't have him in that environment. You can't have him at the park. You can't have him at the beach. My missus will tell you, mate, we went to the beach, and I remember the first time we took him to the beach after all of this, we got him out the car and he went down there, and he just started bawling and like hiding because he just never heard the wind, you know, and never felt it, you know what I mean? It was just this
strange,
overwhelming
overload, and we just realised, like, oh my God, he's just never experienced any of this because he's been bloody wrapped up in cotton wool for so long.
How long was he in hospital for?
Well, we lived there for 3 months, weren't allowed to leave, and then we probably maybe about halfway through that, maybe a month, and probably after that 3 months, we did 6 months of chemo treatments.
Shit.
Yeah, so you know, there's 9, and then from there you're back constantly. Like every 2 weeks, you're back in the hospital, and then that goes out to monthly, and then 6 monthly, and then yearly. You know, but you still got to go in for. So he's at a milestone, probably maybe just a year ago. He had to have MRIs all the time because that's the only way they can really scan an area accurately to see if there's anything fucking bad in there, right? But they have to be perfectly still. So you go get a 7-year-old to lie perfectly still for 40 minutes. Mate, I can't lie perfectly still for 40 minutes. So every time they went in for an MRI, they had to give him a general.
Sedate him.
Yeah, and that's bad. You don't want to be giving kids generals all the time, you know. So the milestone for him is that the last 2 or 3, he's like, nah, I can do this. I can lie still. And so basically over that 40 minutes, they'll do like a 12-minute sit, a 20-minute sit, and then, you know, whatever the change is at the end, you know. So he can lie still for, you know, 12 minutes, and then he can have a bit of a wriggle, you know, and then do the next section of it. And it's just brilliant because, one, you don't have to put them under. You don't have all of that coming out of the general and all of that recovery that you got to do afterwards, and then they're all groggy and crook and yada, yada, yada. So...
Wow,
yeah, leaps and bounds.
That's crazy, mate.
What a process. Was there a point in time, like after when the treatment started, chemo and whatnot, shrink the tumour down? Was there a point where there was an operation to cut out?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was Craig. Craig did that operation.
Okay, righto.
Yeah.
And how big was that?
Well, once they shrunk it?
No, in terms of as a procedure, the actual having the tumour cut out like that, you know.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty serious procedure. One, because that type of tumour is particularly rare. Craig tells us that Finn's actually been a case study for treating this type of tumour because he's one of the very, very few people in the world who actually survive it.
Wow.
Almost none have. So that probably helps us with getting the good treatment from
What a resilient little bugger.
He's a little shit. He's amazing, man. He's such a hitter, that kid. He really is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So once you got through that operation and then 9 months, you know, and all that sort of stuff, is there a point in time where it was like, yep, he's good, or he's clear, or like, is there a point in time, I guess, for you, you know, as a father, where it was like, we're out of the woods?
Yeah. Yes and no. I think that there is a significant point in time. Unfortunately, we missed it because of the hospital changeovers, right? But during your whole process, and it's a really cool thing they do for the kids. They've got basically like these little chimes, or charms rather, I should say. Chimes. Yeah. Charms, and it makes a bracelet, right? And so through all these significant points during, you know, your recovery process,
You get one.
you get a charm, bloody hell. Have a go. You get a charm for the certain different things. And once you get to the end, you got all the charms, you get to ring this bell, right? And that signifies that you're good. You know, your treatment's over.
Yeah.
We missed the bloody bell because it was in between the Royal Children's and the Lady Salento. We had to do the hospital swap
Right.
during treatment. So we missed that, but I guess that kind of answers your question. There is that point in time where you ring the bell and that's it. You still got to go back and do your checkups, and they do your bloods and check your alpha fetoproteins, because that's like a significant marker of whether you have cancer or not, your alpha fetoprotein levels.
So that's just a blood test?
It's just a blood test, yeah. And if you got like up to, I'll never get this right, but it's a low number. It's like
because it's white blood cells, eh? That's what it is?
Yeah. But there's a marker in it, and it's like less than 50. I think, and someone's going to pull me up on this, and that's okay. It's like if you've got like 14 to 20, you're good, right? Finn had like 2,500 or something.
Whoa.
Was his register when they first did his bloods.
So how did they not pick it up earlier when you were taking him in
They
there?
weren't testing for it.
They weren't taking bloods?
Well, it doesn't matter if they were taking bloods.
they
Like
weren't
they could
testing
take
for
bloods
that.
off you tomorrow, but they're not testing alpha fetoproteins.
Right.
They're not looking for how many Milky Bars you ate last week. They're just not looking for it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it just goes by.
So what was one of the biggest things you learnt through that whole process? Like, I don't know, either about you or just the human resilience, or what was a big thing that you took out of that part of your life?
Or was it just the entire roller coaster of emotions that you finally get through?
Yeah, I think, and I've put my foot in it once or twice too, but I've ended up with this saying, especially at work, if things are going pretty bad and things are, it's all up to shit and it's not working out, I'll just be like, don't worry guys, no one's going to die, and it's not true for everyone, you know what I mean? And it's probably an unfair thing to say in a lot of respects, but like from this person's point of view, like that person's going to die, and all of this, mate, no one's going to die. Just don't worry about it. We'll get it done. We'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, it's going to be all right. You know? So I think that's one thing I've taken away from it. Like, I think I'm better able to decipher what does and doesn't matter.
That's a good place to be, I guess. For you, you're talking your perspective,
Mm.
and this whole experience has given you some real perspective and
Totally.
allowed you to reevaluate. Yeah, absolutely everything. What
Totally.
actually matters, all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
which is an awesome place to get to.
It is. It's yeah, and it's a privilege. Like I know a lot of parents that didn't leave that hospital with their kids, and we saw that happen. So that's why I say like I feel shit saying it sometimes. When I think about some of the people that we met along the way, but at the same time, it's exactly what you're saying. Like it's an amazing amount of perspective to be able to have. I think the other thing I took away with it, and I like to treat my day to day as much as I can with this kind of take, is man, anything can happen. Anything could happen. Like we were swimming on a beach in Newcastle that morning, and we were in a terminal ward in a hospital that night.
Yeah.
Mate, anything can happen on any day of your life.
Enjoy it while it's good. Enjoy the moment while it's all going great.
Yeah, that's it,
so
eh?
you mentioned he's a little shit. Tell us.
Tell us about him now.
How's the little shit going
man,
now?
Yeah. He's a shit. He's got a temper. He had all his hair lopped off for that.
I saw
Shave for a
that.
Cure.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was super cool. But he has super long hair because his mum just wouldn't let him cut it. So that was all right. He looked like a bit of a surfy punk.
So did he lose his hair during all the treatment, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
And then
All the hair come out.
and then he's growing it out.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
And it was long. Like long. It was horrible. I don't miss it one bit. It was the worst thing to try and brush.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, man. It's
Well,
bad.
what about him? Like, obviously he knows what he's been through, but does he know the gravity of it all? Like,
Yeah, he gets it, and he's got to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. Like he's not out of this scot-free. He's got ongoing, we call them toileting issues, if you will, because of where the surgery was, and it was pretty intrusive. So there's a lot of things that he needs to deal with, and we need to deal with still to this day. But it's not going to kill him. It's not great, but it's not going to kill him, and he'll be all right. And he understands that, and he's got a really good group of friends around him that maybe they don't fully understand the gravity of what's happened to him, but they know that he has these issues that he has to deal with, and it's because of the sickness that he had, and they're all totally on board. He's got this great little mate Hass who had leukemia, and he's come out the other end. So they got to bond on that, and they share that in common, and then in turn we bonded with his parents, and now we're super chummy. And yeah, I mean, you wouldn't even know, but it happens to a lot of people.
did he and Hass met after?
They just met through
At all?
school.
At school,
yeah, they
righto.
just met through school.
Yeah.
I think we met at like a Shave for a Cure thing.
Yeah,
and
cool.
And just got to talking.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is awesome, and his dad, he's a hairdresser. He runs his own little salon. He's a bit of a hitter, and he's like a third generation hairdresser, but he's a bit of a muso as well. Right?
Cool.
So whenever they do the Shave for a Cure days at school, he gets his band in, and they get the bongo drums, and they turn it into this big bloody, like a Last of the Mohicans, and they're scalping kids and throwing hair, and it's a big bloody show.
Really?
Like they make a big
Bit of
deal
a
out of it.
performance.
Yeah,
That's
man,
fun though,
it's
right?
It's super fun, and all
Yeah.
the kids are like, cut it. Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah.
Wow. And so I guess the whole cancer thing, I've never had anyone in my family go through it. I've had friends who have, and I've witnessed it, sort of as bad as it can get. But I feel like cancer sufferers, whilst you might get in remission, go into remission, you're sort of never completely out of the woods, or always, potentially fearful that this could come back at any time.
Yeah, mate, that's pretty much how it works. I think you just got to be on your guard. If you've had it and you've been lucky enough to be cleared, that's bloody great. Congratulations. And you just gotta be on it. You just gotta try and do the right thing by yourself. Eat the right foods. Go for a walk, or do what you got to do to look after yourself and keep yourself in good nick.
So when all that was going down, we were talking a lot about the cycling earlier. Was there any cycling, any sort of getting rid of the demons and using that as an outlet during that, going through that stuff for you?
Oh, no, not really. Not during that time. Just everything got sidelined.
Everything on the
Everything.
sideline.
Everything got sidelined. Work, everything. Just everything got shelved.
Mm.
But, after that, it definitely the cycling helped with burning the demons, and probably just processing as well, you know what I mean? And just talking to people about it, or having them talk to you about it, I think that's another really good side of it is if when someone is struggling, having been through something super tough, you're able to relate,
Resonate.
you know what I mean, and tell them that you understand, or you can sympathise and whatnot, and it helps them,
I think there's probably a lot of parents out there going through a variety of different things. Obviously, when you're a parent, your kids are like the biggest worry in your life. Going through what you went through, are there things that people can say to you or not say to you that are better or worse when someone's going through something like that? For instance, if someone was to say to you, "Oh, it'll be all right," like, where at the time you're maybe not thinking that it's going to be okay, like, did you find that people could say the wrong or the right thing to you?
Look, I personally didn't find that. I'm pretty, I don't know, I know what people mean, and I'm not going to take it personal, or I'm feeling, particularly grumpy today, so I'm just going to bite your head off because I can. I'm not, I never did that. I totally would understand if someone did it, but, and I guess I probably saw it with, maybe I saw it a bit with Rachel, people would say it was okay, and she's like, I just don't want to hear people say it's okay anymore. It's bloody not okay. So, but that's okay. You just got to be understanding. It isn't okay. She's not lying. So just maybe spare me the it's okays for a couple of days, mate.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Just if you could go and maybe get us a sandwich.
Yeah.
That'd be okay.
Or some fresh chicken eggs.
Just, mate, just some food. Just food. That's the worst thing about those hospitals, man, is the food. No one can get better eating that stuff. It's a problem.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Mate, it's an incredible story. Must be, I guess, as I say, Finn's obviously quite resilient, and as a parent, you've been through a fair bit of stuff. So it's probably going to toughen you up for when he turns 16 and starts kissing girls and
Yeah.
getting up to no good and going to parties and all that sort of stuff, I suppose, right?
Yeah, totally. I'm starting to deal with that with the eldest, Indy. I met the boyfriend for the first time recently.
How was that?
Oh, it was fine. He's a bloody apprentice plumber.
Just strong arm him?
Hey, no,
Shirt front?
I didn't get to spend enough time there, unfortunately.
No,
I would have liked to.
Did you race him on the bike, mate? Let's go. I'm going to burn you.
Yeah.
Pump him.
Go for a pedal.
Bloody cat.
Yeah.
See how far you can go.
Yeah, mate.
Unreal.
Awesome, mate. Well, what do you reckon?
I think that's about us.
What do you reckon?
Done like a dinner, mate.
Done look at dinner?
Appreciate
Awesome.
your time, Quadsy. Good story, mate.
Pleasure,
It's
mate.
bloody
Thanks for
unbelievable.
having us.
Thanks for coming in, mate. Yeah, appreciate it.
Cheers, crew.